Hi, I'm Ben. Welcome to my book corner. Today is another tag video for you. I was tagged in this by the amazing Kevin Toll Reads. I'm not sure where this originally comes from, so if you know, please let me know in the comments. This is going to be a nightmare for me to say because I have issues with the letter R. This is the to reread or not to reread book tag. We have 8 prompts, the last of which is a tag people. So let's just dive straight in. So, question number 1. Do you reread fiction? Why or why not? I do, not very often. Part of the reason why I don't reread stuff very often is because there's so much amazing stuff out there to get to, and I want to read all the books. Now, there are exceptions to that, and they tend to either be a couple of comfort reads. Sometimes I'm doing a reread with somebody as well. Or it's been a long time since I've read it and I just want to go back, or I want to deep dive into some of the themes of a book. So there's a few different reasons why I go back to books. I don't do it very often though. Number 2, do you revisit non-fiction? Why or why not? So I don't read much non-fiction, first off, so this is kind of a non-issue for me. In terms of going back, I have books where I've gone back and revisited parts of a book, especially in things like history, for example, or science or astronomy. But things like biographies and memoirs, I don't go back to. Mental health resources as well, the books that I've got on that I will occasionally wander back to if I need to recenter myself. But again, I won't go back and read the whole book. I'll just find the bits that I need for whatever it is I need at the time. I'm more likely to reread articles online than books, if I'm completely honest. Number 3, if you revisit fiction, what kind of fiction are you most likely to choose? Bestsellers, classic lit, genre fiction, etc. What are your reasons for the choices you've made? So it would fall under genre fiction, but that's largely because that's the main thing that I read anyway. But that wouldn't necessarily preclude me from going back and revisiting other titles as well. I potentially would if I liked the book enough, and it is about how much I like a book. Some books I go back to pretty often, Pratchett being an example, currently doing Wheel of Time, and there's a few others in there. But again, sometimes I'll go back just simply because I'm in a mood for a specific book, and I know that book will give me the fix that I'm after at the time. But past that, there's no other rhyme or reason to why I reread what I do. It's just about vibe at the time. Or someone I know wants to read a book that they've not read before. It's been a while since I've read it, and actually I don't mind the idea of talking to someone about this book, and I kind of need a refresher. So there we go. Number 4, if you revisit non-fiction... Hang on. Are you most likely to choose histories, biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, philosophy, science, theology, travelogues? And again, what are the reasons for your choices? I touched on this to do with rereading fiction. I don't really. And my reasons are always because of need. I need some information that I know is in said book. I don't really travel. I will say that if I did travel more and then I was going back to a place I'd been before, I would probably revisit a travelogue or a travel guide, realistically, because, you know, I forget things. But yeah, other than me being after specific reference, I probably wouldn't go back. Number 5, if you've read a book that's been translated from another language, would you revisit the same book in a newer or different translation? This would entirely depend on the quality of the translation the first time I read or tried to read a book. I've had all the translations I've read so far have been pretty well done, in my personal opinion. I've had no issues with them. I do know that there's some books out there that are pretty much translated into English, unabridged, and like literally word for word translations, which the example I'm thinking of, I've not read it, but I know Noah over at the Bookworm and Aaron Hook both read The History of O, I think it was called. And I believe it's a very literal translation from its base language, which I think is French, to English. And it doesn't take into account grammatical changes or stuff like that. So if it was a better translation of a book that I'd struggled with, I would probably consider it. I am more likely, however, rather than going back to a retranslation, to go and reread something in a different medium. So if I've read something, to listen to it as an audiobook, if that makes sense, or vice versa. Number 6, how many times would you revisit the same book? There is no limit on this if I like the book enough. Yeah, I think if you like a book enough and you keep wanting to come back to it, keep going back to it, I don't think there's an upper limit. Again, I don't revisit books often. So again, it's kind of a non-issue. The book that I have revisited the most is probably Hogfather, which I read every couple of years. So I probably read that 10, 12 times at this point, maybe even a little bit more, because it's kind of a Christmas read for me. I don't think there's an upper limit. I think I'd just keep going back until I no longer needed to read that book anymore. And again, I don't reread often. So, number 7, what's the most recent book you've reread? I've already grabbed it off the shelf. So actually, no, we need to add a qualifier to this actually. So, currently doing a Wheel of Time reread with Elaine over at Cobalt Dragon, and also a load of other people are joining us as well to work for their first time reading through the series. So I recently completed book 2, which is The Great Hunt. However, last time round I read the book that's on the shelf. This time round I listened to the Rosamund Pike audiobook. So it is a different format. So that is technically my most recent. If we're talking same format, then it's Witches Abroad by Terry Pratchett. I picked up the wrong book and I ended up reading it anyway because it was after a different one off my shelf, and I just misremembered which one was which. And this was sort of the back quarter of last year, I think. I read this one. Still as good as I remember. Pratchett books are always great for a reread. So there we go. And I do have a couple of books I intend to revisit later on this year as well, on top of the Wheel of Time ones. So there we go. And number 8, tag some friends. Kevin tagged everybody, so I'm not going to tag anyone in this one specifically. If you have not done this tag and you find this one interesting, please consider doing it. Obviously, tag the original creator, and also please tag me as well in your description so I can come and check it out and see if you revisit books, and if so, which books you revisit. But that's it from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider giving it a thumbs up and dropping a subscribe if you're not already, and a comment back down below is always welcome. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all very soon.